y'all were afraid to go to war and pick up a gun. And then you always ready to make us grab one, you know what I mean? You're going back on all your promises, you think you and your corporations can rob us blind. Keep the middle and the lower class, the minorities, the slaves to the war machine. Why? Because you know they're not gonna vote for you because you're not really for equality.
Okay, welcome everybody to Lions, Lies, and Billy Goats, episode 36. Like and share if you're paying attention. First time I got it in the beginning of the show. I'm Jeff, that's Paul, that's Jim. A returning guest for the third time, our man Jim. Nothing special today. We're going to kind of, I guess there's been some big news. The JFK files got released. Did anybody bother to take a look at the JFK files yet?
No,
Jim? Is anything good in them?
No, I'm waiting. I mean, there's some stuff coming out, but I haven't done the deep dive in anybody's report yet. I saw that Mike Benz did one on somebody else's show, and then Glenn Greenwald posted one a couple of hours ago, so I might watch one tonight. But again, it's 80,000 pages or something, right?
Yeah.
You figure most of it has been bullshit that's been released before. It probably in a different format to make it look fresh. And again, 80,000 pages, and it's been 2 days. So I figure I'll let an expert go through it, or multiple experts go through it for a while, and then I'll read the fucking report. And I'll have them, I'll watch.
Feed it into AI. And
yeah, I'll watch debates or, interviews and whatnot, how I normally do. And then I'll figure out the story.
Yeah, it's going to take a minute, even for like an avid reader to read 80,000 pages. Like, even if you didn't sleep, you didn't do anything else but read the files, it's going to take you a while.
I would just have a hard time believing that there would ever be anything released that would incriminate, like I just can't imagine that there's going to be big bombshells, because I think they would have not released them if they were. You know what I mean?
Or the other theory is that, what's the big deal if you drop some government names now? I mean, they're all dead, most likely. It's like, who are you gonna pin the blame on? Someone who's dead and say, oh, oops, we'll do better next time.
Yeah, to me, it's a matter of sort of giving credibility to all the conspiracy theorists, right? Look, you were right all along. Like, you don't want to give any credibility to that kind of thing if you're them.
Point.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys seen any of it. I've seen a couple clips, documents, things that people uploaded, and it being a conspiracy theorist myself, I knew pretty much most of it so far, because again, we haven't gotten through all the stuff yet. But there were a couple things I learned, or one thing I learned and one thing that got confirmed. So something I saw this morning was that apparently JFK knew about the UFO reverse engineering program, and he actually demanded from the CIA, again, this is in one of the documents, actually demanded the information on the UFOs, and this is 10 days before he died. One of the other things that I kind of like heavily suspected, that like Israel was somehow involved or connected, and that's also confirmed. Israel is absolutely involved to varying degrees. Just ask Ben Shapiro.
What did he say?
He said it's 60 years ago. I don't even care.
Yeah, that's right.
But you bring up, anyway, he's an idiot. So.
Well, I bet you if it was any country besides Israel, he'd be all trying to get to the bottom.
I'm sure he would be.
The truth bombs.
I'm sure if it was Israel and it happened last week, he would be like, "Well, it was last week, so I mean, like, who cares?"
What Israel was pretty new back then, right?
Right.
It would have been around a few years.
Well, speaking of the Daily Wire, I saw they fired their CEO or their boss or whatever. I guess they're having internal struggles over there.
I saw something about that. I don't know too much about the details. By the way, for those that are watching, Billy is doing a fantasy baseball draft right now.
Oh yeah, I got a fantasy baseball draft going on.
If you see him, his attention span wander a bit.
Who did you take? Kyle Schwarber, you suck.
Yeah, obviously the CEO. Then prior to that, there was Candace Owens. That whole debacle, and then what's the other girl's name? Like Bobby something. Bobby Althoff. Wasn't she Daily Wire?
No, Daily Wire only has.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know who they have left now. Is Benny Johnson still there? Was he even there?
I think so. I think him and Matt Walsh, because I always see like a lot of the accounts on Twitter urging them to leave. Um, just because their opinions are somewhat restricted, or at least one opinion's restricted because.
Um, Paul, how about how's Snow White doing in your movie theater?
So it just came out today. And I didn't work today, so I
Okay.
don't know. It is it's kind of funny, right? Because I was just talking to my parents yesterday, and again, they're very in tune with the legacy media. And my stepdad was like, "Oh, it's getting great reviews." And my response to that was, "Where is the source? Like, where are you getting these reviews from?" Um, because yeah, it's getting destroyed across the board. Let me just pull up some of the ratings. Here's IMDb's. I mean, I hope it does well. I really do, because again, if people, I want people to come in because I would like to make some money, and if people don't come in, I don't make any money. But where's the score?
It might be too new. You said it came out
No,
today.
I looked last night and it had a 2.3. And as you can see now, the rating is completely gone. So
Check Rotten
I'm going
Tomatoes.
to check that next. Yeah, so something weird going on there. It doesn't have any reviews yet from fans, but obviously the critics gave it a 46%, which is not good. That's based on 142 reviews. Um, but like even without like the movie reviews aside, I mean it's gone through so much controversy, which we've talked about in the past. The dwarves, Rachel Zegler, a lot of the comments that she's made. And then I think it's gone through like three different reshoots, if I remember correctly, which is doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad movie, but it's never a good shot. It's never a good sign when a film has to go through that many reshoots. So
Yeah, I think it's it got to be difficult for Disney to put out classic material without completely if they're sort of stuck because if they change it to sort of conform to modern standards of acceptability, they're changing it, so it's like it doesn't have the same classic feel. It's like which do they're sort of damned if they do, damned if they don't. Do they ruin the movie or do they get lambasted for being politically incorrect?
yeah, that's a fair statement. Obviously a lot of the, recent over the last 10 years or so, it's all this the DEI stuff and the representation, like you mentioned, and that doesn't seem to be doing well for them. But they keep instead of backpedaling on it, they keep doubling down on it. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I really hope the movie does well because I want people to come in and see it. But just from everything that I'm reading and seeing, it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. And Captain America, it's kind of on its way out of the theaters now. We can essentially say that movie bombed.
How
Um,
many weeks has it been in the theater? Do you know?
it's been in the theater for about a month or so now.
All right.
So yeah, it's had some run time, and just generally, like I don't really watch a whole lot of movies nowadays, but a lot of my coworkers do. And a lot of them like to see the movies as soon as they come out so they can avoid spoilers and stuff. And just the general, impression at my job is it's okay. I haven't heard anybody say it's good. I haven't heard anybody say it's terrible. They're just like, it's, it exists, basically.
Yeah, I'm just like so not vested in the whole Anthony Mackie Captain America concept.
Yeah, I'm out of
You
it.
give me some OG Captain America, I'm all in. This is like it's I don't know, it's weird,
Same.
not feeling it.
I
I
think they
did
should have
watch the.
just, go ahead.
So, oh no, just because I'm gonna switch topics, so stay on it.
I was gonna say I think they should have just made a Falcon movie. Why they didn't just make a Falcon film and have Anthony Mackie star in it? Call it Falcon Brave New World or whatever. But maybe
Yeah,
they
I'm
didn't
sure he
think.
has. Falcon's got his own storyline. I'm sure they probably
Yeah,
could have.
maybe they just didn't like. Maybe they just didn't think that the movie would stand on its own. But I would have been a lot more inclined to go see a Falcon movie than I would, Falcon
Yeah, I
then
think
becoming Captain
you know
America.
the first MCU, was, I mean, Iron Man and Captain America were the core of that whole thing, and they killed them both at the end of it. And then so they kill off their two, most popular characters, and then I think they felt like they needed to keep the Captain America going somehow, and they came up with this, mistakenly thinking that it was the character. I mean, the of Captain America was really more about the actor and the role in and Captain America. Like the whole thing. People liked that specifically.
That's
Same with
yeah,
Iron Man.
that's fair. Speaking of Anthony Mackie too, before we switch topics, he if you have you guys seen Twisted Metal? I think it's on
Yeah,
Peacock.
I watched it. It was good.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
It's
That
pretty good.
stars Anthony Mackie, and season two's coming out this summer. It's based on an old video game that was on the original PlayStation, Jim. So we're talking like 1995 ish. Um, but yeah, it's fun. It's entertaining. It's fun. I highly recommend it. At least the first season, and I'm excited for the second one.
I really like the Sweet Tooth character. I like what they did with him.
It's great. I was curious how they were going to do that because he is like
Yeah.
this psychotic killer, but they take it like a comical route in the show, which is great. That's what's his name, right? He was a wrestler. Samoan Joe.
Oh
Isn't it?
yeah, but the voice is somebody else.
The voice is somebody else, but
The voice is oh, it's the dude from I'm not gonna remember his
I'm
name.
gonna pull it
I
up
can,
real quick and then we can continue or move on or whatever you guys want
speaking
to
of
do.
pro wrestlers and movies, did you know that the character who played Luca Brasi in Godfather 1, not only was he a real life mobster, but he was a wrestler first.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they took him out of wrestling. Well, the mobsters saw him as a wrestler and used him as an enforcer, obviously, because he's a monster.
No kidding. Will
Will
Arnett.
Arnett. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's the voice.
And Joe Sinoa, I think is his real name, but I think he went by like Samoan Joe or Samoa Joe when he was a
Yeah.
wrestler. Did you
Um,
know Super Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, The Secret of the Ooze? You remember that one from when we were kids?
isn't that the Ultimate Warrior?
Oh, it's Kevin Nash. I
Oh,
think.
that's right. It's Kevin Nash. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's pretty wild.
So in the movie thing, because I haven't watched a new movie in a while, I watched Trapped last night, the M Night Shyamalan movie.
Oh, where they're in the concert?
Yeah.
How was that?
No, it wasn't. No,
That was a no for you.
No.
it wasn't terrible. Like I
How
was.
was it? No.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't awful. It was kind of cool. It started off kind of interesting. My wife had mentioned because we originally were going to watch it together, but it just never happened. And last night because it's on, it just hit Netflix. So she had mentioned that she had heard through her algorithm, whatever, that it was basically just one giant music video for because they're at a concert in the arena, and the girl actress is M Night Shyamalan's daughter, who is actually a pop singer. She ended up becoming a character, like more of a major role as opposed to just being on the stage the whole time. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be after Michelle said that, when she said it was just going to be like a pop video. But nah, I had me for a little bit. I was like, all right, maybe this will go somewhere, maybe it'll do something, and then it just got kind of dumb.
Do
And
you
at the end, I was kind of like, all right, I want to finish it just to get through it, but I'm like, all right, I'm almost like hitting fast forward for like 15 seconds at a clip just to get to the end.
M Night Shyamalan for me is hit or miss. I think when it's hit, like I really love what he does, and then when it's miss, it just The Happening, for example. I just feel like I just wasted whatever time I spent watching it. But
Well, he did Unbreakable. I like that. With
oh yeah,
Bruce
he's got some
Yeah.
great films. Yeah, for sure.
Mr. Glass.
Yeah.
Come stop.
Do you guys have a favorite M. Night Shyamalan film? Should we exclude The Sixth Sense? Because I feel like that's probably most people's, mine included.
Did he do did he do the one with Mel Gibson and the aliens? Was that him?
Signs? Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
like
that's him.
Signs. I thought Signs was pretty good.
That was good, other than the water part. But yeah, other than that, I thought it was good.
Oh, you didn't like the way they killed him?
No, it's stupid. Like, because if you're the ETs and you're going to invade a planet, why would you pick a planet that's like 2/3 water? It's just not very smart, you know?
I'm melting! Melting! Oh, what a world! What a world!
Oh yeah, you can't attack in the rain.
You can't, yeah, yeah. It would just be too easy for humans to fight back, you know? Do you have a favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie, Jim, or are you a fan, or
It's probably Unbreakable. I am a big fan of that movie.
Unbreakable's
I do
popular?
like Sixth Sense too, but Unbreakable's got a cool vibe.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, it's got that whole comic book dynamic without actually coming out and telling you it's like a comic book film. It's
And
neat.
that's a 3-part movie technically, right? There's that
Yeah.
one. There's the one with the guy with multiple personalities, and then I can't think of the other one.
I think it's Unbreakable, Split, and Glass, I think.
Oh yeah, Mr. Glass gets his own film. I
Yeah.
haven't seen that.
Yeah, those are pretty good. I even like some of his more like pan films, like the Village. I like that.
The
I,
Village is kind of a horror thing, right?
yeah, sorta.
Haven't seen it.
You know, kind of twist at the end, but yeah, it's where they're in the village and they're not allowed to leave because if you go into the forest, the monsters will get you kind of bit. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed the twist at the end. A lot of people hated it. But again, it has some nonsensical parts. There's
Mr. Glass.
there's one part where the main character, she's blind, by the way, so somebody has to go to the like, you know, to nearby village or whatever, and trek into the dangerous woods, you know, to get a cure for this person who got sick. So who do they decide to send? The main character, the blind chick, by
Makes sense.
herself. So yeah, there's like a couple parts where you're like, all right, that makes absolutely no sense. But overall, I like the film. There was also The
Trying to
Visit.
right by the blind people lobby, you know,
Maybe.
powering the disabled.
I mean, the whole thing makes sense, and it's cool that she's blind, and it adds to like the tension in the story. But that part's nonsensical. Yeah, let's send the one girl in the village that's blind to go get help. The rest of us will stay here. What?
Yeah, not even a guide, you know, nothing.
Yeah, not even a male or something that might be better off defending themselves. But either way, you're blind. It's probably not a good idea, but that's what they do. He has another film called The Visit that came out maybe like 10 years ago. That's the one with the grandparents. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Mm-mm.
But anyway, long story short, there's a bunch of kids that go to visit their grandparents for like a weekend and stuff, and it's excellent up until about like the last 20 minutes, and then M. Night Shyamalan seems to hit every single horror cliche one after the other for me. I still like it, but again, it just becomes kind of nonsensical at some point, you know, for me. But I still recommend it to people who do like horror or like, you know, just disturbing stuff. So
Yeah, I gotta pick in 1 second, and then we can get into the main reason I wanted to even bring Jim on here. Has to do with. Did you see anything, Jim, about the reevaluation of? Well, the reevaluation of gold, possibly. All the gold moving from Europe into the United States, mostly out of England. I guess there's a bunch going to Switzerland too, but Switzerland's known for refining the gold, so the gold's probably going from England to Switzerland to get melted and smelted into other whatever, and then come back to the U.S.
Which gold is this? Is this related to the Fort Knox thing?
Yeah, the gold supposedly all. I guess the story is that all our gold isn't here; it's over there, or our gold's somewhere else, and they're trying to possibly fake the funk, and all this gold now coming in from Europe, from the Bank of England, the City of London, and like the two countries that are way above everybody else having gold imports are the U.S. and Switzerland. And the reason I found out today is why there's so much money. So you would think it's because of Swiss banking rules, but they have all the best tech for smelting.
I love gold so much that I even lost my genitalia in an unfortunate smelting accident.
And then again, that's
Yeah,
about
and banking rules.
yeah. And then they have so I guess the theory is that we're headed for a global financial reset, probably because the U.S. is on the verge of defaulting again for the third time. And then I saw something about a reevaluation of gold to about $3,000 an ounce, to what it is now, basically, as opposed to, because it's on the books at the Fed at like $42.22 or something.
Oh,
So, like, I guess the Fed or whoever, there's a law introduced into Congress that hasn't gone through everything yet, that would reevaluate the price of gold to 3,000, which would then allow the Fed to print all the money in between every ounce of gold from $42 to $3,000, which obviously would cause inflation, I guess. And then the other talk is that Trump is purposely devaluing the dollar with the process of doing the sovereign wealth fund and switching to a new type of a financial market on the global stage, because the dollar is losing not only its purchasing power, but because of United States foreign policy mishandling of having the reserve currency and abusing that power over everybody else, that other countries have been and are looking for ways to conduct business outside the dollar. And so Trump is gearing up for the next stage in geopolitics, because at the same time we have the global financial situation, we have a new world order that's not the American order on the world stage. And usually that usually gets broken out after a war, and it seems that we are headed into a larger war situation. And then after war, debts disappear, and there's new people make the rules. So what do you think about any of that shit I just said?
yeah, a lot went by there. I mean, so, well, I wouldn't say the one thing that you said that stuck out a little bit is like someone saying that Trump is deliberately devaluing the dollar. And I would say, well, I mean, I don't know how that's different than what we've been doing. Like, I haven't seen him doing anything differently than anybody else for the last several decades, right? They've all devalued the dollar. So I wouldn't single Trump out there. But as for the rest of it, I mean, yeah, it is. I feel like, yeah, they're devaluing it. They know that. And so they can continue to spend. Um, and yeah, I guess they would like to replace it. They're going to have to replace it with something, right? So I don't know if different groups have different plans as to what that will be. I know they would probably want it to be digital, whatever it is, like no cash, that kind of thing. I don't know a lot about what you were talking about.
What I saw today is that with the law that's allowing that will reevaluate gold, is all the money that the Fed will print for each ounce of gold that they have from $42 to $3,000 would then be used given to the Treasury, and then the Treasury would use that to start to buy Bitcoin. And then they want to do a sovereign wealth fund. And I'm not sure how sovereign wealth funds, I've read a couple things about it. I know overall it's not the greatest idea for a nation state to have a sovereign wealth fund. Do you know anything about that? Sovereign wealth funds at all?
No. And like the one thing I with what you're saying that is not making sense to me is why we would need like the Fed can print dollars. It doesn't need it's not connected to our gold valuations anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. So how would changing the price of gold in some way affect what the Fed does? Like I don't follow.
I guess because the asset on their book, instead of being listed at $42, is listed at 3,000, and the exchange of value or something. It was on the thing I sent you today, the Heresy Financial. I'll have Paul link it to the bottom of the page so anybody watching can check it out. Heresy Financial is a dude I follow.
So
Yeah, I'll
you
check it out.
you mentioned like digital currency. Obviously, you guys have said that, and I've heard this too. That Trump and company have plans to try to move to Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin. Um, Jim, do you know anything about Bitcoin?
Besides
I
it
mean, I
being,
know a little,
it's
I
a
know a little bit
blockchain.
about crypto.
It's a blockchain and it's limited is all I know. But again, in my mind, it's fucking invisible. It's digital X's and O's. Like gold I can technically hold in my hand.
Right. Yeah. It's. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, gold you can hold in your hand. I mean, I think gold is better. Um, but yeah, because Bitcoin is limited in supply, um, that's good. It's better than what we have anyway.
Is it?
Um,
Is it? Because I've heard it's untraceable, like in the sense that like using Bitcoin is like in many ways using cash. Do you know if that's accurate?
yeah, it depends how you set your wallet up, I believe. Because if there are ways you can do it without like um, some of them like are like brokers where they do it for you and they manage a lot of this stuff. But you can just have like a wallet, like a Bitcoin wallet with a wallet ID. And once you set the password for that, all you need like it doesn't have any of your personal information as long as you've got the password um, for that wallet ID, you can have access to it. But if you lose it, there's no way to get it back, right? So I think there's actually a lot of Bitcoin that's out there unclaimed because people just, lost their wallet ID or forgot their password, and there's no,
Right. Like
there's
I
no
know
way to
like
track it down.
you can somehow put Bitcoin on like a zip drive. And then if you
Yeah.
lose the zip drive, hypothetically, we talked about this the other day,
Yeah, we did.
how some rich guy is buying the landfill to find his millions of dollars of Bitcoin that he accidentally threw in the garbage.
Oh my god.
He misplaced the password. He had like the password stored somewhere, and I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah. So I guess like the first concern is, well, if it's untraceable, then it'll be used for nefarious purposes, and yeah, that's potentially true, I would guess. But
But
also, I think
that's
the
fine.
fact that it's untraceable actually gives more privacy to individual citizens. So I would argue that that's a good thing. Again, does Bank of America need to know every time you use your bank card for this or that, or your credit card company? Is that really their business what you do with your money? You know. Um.
Oh, yeah,
So
I mean, that blockchain, Bitcoin, that kind of thing, it's very good for the average person. It's not good for anybody who wants supervision or control of something.
yeah. So I don't know. I hear that a lot, but so it sounds like it could be a good thing. I do agree with you, Jim. I think and Jeff. I think it's better to actually have something that's tangible. Like gold bar or silver, or something that's actually valuable, like that you can hold in your hand. But I do see at least some of the benefit for going towards Bitcoin or digital currency that's not regular,
And
that's not controlled by the state.
yeah, exactly. Any increase in choice of currencies, right? So competition amongst different types of currencies, a free market of currency providers, if you will, is better. The more choices, the better. The ones that you know aren't that great will fail, and the ones that are good, people will use as long as we continue to have, you know, choices and the type of currencies we can use. I mean, Bitcoin's at least, the new one on the block as really probably the only new choice in that realm in a while.
I guess we'll have to wait and see what they do with that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just sitting around and waiting for a lot of shit to happen. Things are moving too slow in my world. I just kind of want everything. I want to know what happens. I want the things to pop off
Just
already.
fast forward to the end of the movie,
Well, into the middle,
to the action scenes.
Yeah, we haven't hit the rising action yet. It's a little slow.
That's
A lot
right.
of credits.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been in that mode since about 2006. Yeah, kind of waiting for all this socioeconomic stuff to play out. It's taking a lot longer than I thought it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Which I
sure.
guess is a good thing.
So I saw something today about that China is possibly building ships that would be used to ferry troops over to Taiwan. And I mean, hypothetically, if that even happens? But what I saw that was cool about the ships is that one of the problems with invading Taiwan is finding a suitable beachhead to land your ships and get your shit on the land. And what I saw with the technology and innovation of the ships is that the ships will basically go in as far as they can during high tide or whatever, and then they have like these legs that come out of the bottom and will like make the ship like stationary, and then when the tide lowers down you can just roll everything out. It's almost like it becomes like a hard dock as opposed to a floating ship, you know what I mean?
This one?
Yeah, bingo, right there. I know, I thought that was kind of cool technology wise.
That is cool. Make like a pseudo bridge out of it, essentially. And
Well,
like
it's
you
a lot
said, like
easier
a
than the Allies had it in Normandy when they were just running those fuckers up and beaching them.
yeah, that's interesting. And like you said, it kind of it looks more like an oil rig where it kind of like anchors in one spot, or at least that's what it looks like.
Yeah, apparently there's only like 2 or 3 spots that are suitable for invasion. If you did for a land invasion, on the island. But again, it would take a fucking, even though it's only like what 30 kilometers away, right? Is it even that far from the mainland? But ships are big, slow targets, so the amount of ships that you would need to move uh, a force like that, it can't be. It's not like back in the day. We have satellites and we know what all ships are doing at all times.
So
It's not like you lose the fleet at some point. They're just going across the
I don't
chain.
know what kind of defense does Taiwan have. I know nothing about it.
Mostly missiles. Their defense is built around waiting for the Americans to show up. So it would be hold the fort for as long as possible. Think of like the Atlantic Wall that worked,
which we can't do. I mean, like, as much as I think, all of us or most of us or however many of us would prefer Taiwan to stay an independent country. I don't see how we have any control over any of that. Obviously, if the United States goes over there, gets involved, tries to defend Taiwan, that's World War III. I just pulled up their population. There's only looks like 23 million people in Taiwan. That's basically 2 New York cities. I don't know. What do they do? Do they resist? Do they try to negotiate some kind of term?
I think time is on China's side. They don't necessarily have to go and take it. I mean, as soon as the incentive for the United States to protect Taiwan has to do with industry. And the second that we can find a better, cheaper, more reliable super high end chip maker, and Taiwan loses one of its some of its leverage for United States to help it. And again, there's still technically one China with like what is it called? One China with two governments or something, but it's still technically one China.
Are you including Taiwan's government as part of?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
okay.
like an official narrative that we use. Like we haven't like we don't necessarily like Taiwan doesn't have a seat in the UN or a vote in the UN. I don't think.
Well, China would probably be strongly opposed to that.
Right,
So
but China keeps they have the seat on the Security Council on the five. While I think Taiwan just has like representation, kind of like the Palestinians did for a minute. They just kind of have a guy that shows up.
Hey, everybody!
And voices their opinion.
yeah, I know we've talked about this before, and I think it's inevitable that China will take back Taiwan. I hope it happens,
Oh
peacefully.
yeah, it's part of their domestic foreign policy. The 100-year plan.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Which is up in 19. It was started in 1945.
Well, I
When,
think it's kind of fucked up, like for business matters, just for the U.S. to just be like, "Hey, like, sorry, we found a better business partner over here, so we're just gonna, leave you guys to your own devices." Like, that's a fucked up way to look at it. But I mean, even with that, like, I don't see any way that we could potentially help them outside of maybe trying to enter into negotiations with China and Taiwan to assist them. I don't really. What other option does the United States and its people have at this point? Um, like I said, we can't just go over there and put down troops and say, "Hey, we're defending Taiwan." That would be bad for everybody.
well, is it
Yeah.
really? It's not really our. Like, who are we to go defend Taiwan? You know what I mean? Like that's.
Yeah, we've done lots of those kinds of things in the past. I'm not saying we should have. I don't think we should have. We have done a lot of it in the past, but um, yeah, it would be good if we didn't do it anymore.
Oh shit!
I agree. I agree. But yeah, it's I think it's inevitable, unfortunately, that when China is ready, they're just going to go. They did the same thing to Hong Kong, which technically geographically is in China, but it had been an independent city for how many decades? And then China was just like, no.
It was leased. It wasn't like independent. It was like leased
A
to
99
England.
year lease. Yeah.
Yeah, 99-year lease. And then when the lease came up, it was just a matter of time before China just took it by not. I mean, it was by force. It was like a soft power force, but they kind of ran up in there.
Yeah, I remember they sent like the military in and stuff. I don't think they were like killing people, but I do remember them shooting like gas grenades and stuff like that. At some of the
They
protesters.
would have if they didn't. I mean,
What's that?
it's only as violent as it needs to be based off resistance, right?
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
they
there's
didn't
no need to
resist
go in
much.
there and slaughter everybody.
Yeah, hopefully you only have to slaughter a couple, and then everyone else falls in line, right?
Yeah, if you even have to take it there. Israel, you paying a never mind. So, yeah, I do feel bad for the Taiwanese people. They've basically had their own sovereignty now for, what, 70 years, 60 years, however long it's been.
Well, again, I mean, they lost the war and just retreated to an island, and because of the anti-communism stance that the U.S. was taking at the time, it was just us sticking our nose in somebody else's business because we weren't happy with the way China was handling their business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, our foreign policy post World War II got created a lot of messes that are still going on.
Yeah, speaking of that, we have the whole now we're bombing the shit out of Yemen again.
I thought Trump said he was what didn't Trump run on an anti-war campaign ticket? And here we are.
Well, you don't talk about our friends with the little hats where in their nation state.
Yeah, he's anti-war as long as it doesn't have anything to do with Israel.
Correct.
Yeah, that's not anti-war, Donald. It's not.
Why do we care about? I mean, other than I would say, why do we care about Yemen? I don't mean that it's not important, but what I'm saying is like, what's the strategic value of Yemen?
For the United States or for Israel?
It just what's the scenario for anybody? Like who's other than the people who live in Yemen themselves? Why is someone else caring about Yemen?
I mean, geographically, they have that choke point at the bottom of the Red Sea there, which can control shipping in and out of the Suez Canal. So when they're shooting at ships and screwing up world trade, again, that's not really.
Somalia. Is it Somalia on the other side?
Yeah, Somalia's down to the south. But again, the Suez Canal is literally the opposite side of the world. It connects the Atlantic and the Pacific. United States, Atlantic, Pacific. We can just ship the other fucking way. We don't need that. Really isn't our choke point at all. We don't. It does nothing to do with us. And the amount of oil.
Is it? Oh yeah. Is it an oil? It's an oil. Is it an oil pipe?
Yeah, that channel right
Point.
there.
Yeah.
So, but it's not our oil that's coming out of there. It's British oil, and it's the rest of the world's oil, but it's mostly China's oil. So why aren't they keeping the peace down there? Or some other more local power should be cleaning up their own backyard instead of us moving aircraft carriers into it. I mean, the channel, I think, at the narrowest point is like 15 kilometers wide. So you can cover that with missiles, which kind of can it's easier for a small group, a smaller army, or a terrorist organization, or a well-funded rebel group, or whatever. It almost, I don't want to say it completely eliminates, but it really hinders the ability of how the Americans have built their way to project power across the globe, which is with aircraft carriers. And you basically don't need to have an aircraft carrier anymore. We can just shoot a bunch of fucking missiles at it until one of them gets through and causes enough damage to take it out.
I think when we talk about like the Middle East, I think a lot of the narrative they always push us is that we have to go over there for moral reasons, like because we're good human beings and this country's under attack or whatever, it needs help, and we're good people, so we're going to go help. That's the narrative,
their
right?
people need our democracy.
Well, yeah, we're spreading democracy, or yeah, we're whatever it is, But I think the reality is, I think some of our former and potentially current people in power have vested interests over there, financial interests, whether it be Halliburton or whomever, whoever's in the oil business or resources business. So I think a lot of the times that we are duped into going over there and assisting in the Middle East is for somebody's personal gain. And
Always.
yeah, and
That's always the
it's
case.
not the American people's gain. We don't gain anything. Actually, we all lose every time
No,
we're
the
over there.
people on the both sides always lose in war. War is for the people in charge. They're the ones who stand to benefit. That's why they do it.
As Billy always says, people never want war. Governments want war.
Yeah, been that way a long time.
Yeah, well, I bring, like, I think every episode I bring up Smedley Butler in War is a Racket, because he was World War One and pre World War One, and then obviously since World War Two, it's been the military industrial complex that's been pushing most of the war, and then other big business.
It's really just got denationalized. War. They'll keep. They'll just move the conflict around as needed. But it's the same
Yeah.
groups. It's the same groups running both sides.
Same perpetrators. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they'll just move it around. They really don't care about which countries are involved. It's whatever they can politically justify.
Well, I feel like the United States has been central in a lot of this stuff because for the time period we were the most powerful, wealthy and resourceful country in the world. Going back from, World War 1, 2 ish, all the way up to, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, well,
Even
it was the English world. It was the Britain's world order up until World War One. It was kind of their game,
Mm-hmm.
and then they lost all their power in World War One. They lost a whole lot of their the empire, India, and all their colonies that were spread around. And then I guess you can argue that World War One and World War Two were kind of continuous of the same thing. But again, it was the decline in British power and the rise of American power. We just happened to be on the same side of the war instead of what would naturally happen, which was America and Britain would have ended up fighting, but it didn't go down that way.
Yeah, so much is just the intelligence agencies. I mean,
Yes.
I think the CIA has motives of its own. And when you start getting into those organizations and all the players involved at that level, that's it's messy business. And again, it really doesn't matter too much which country is what. It's just they're all just pieces on a board.
Yeah, essentially. The JFK files, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the CIA actually on record in the documents, or at least in one of the documents that I saw, said they really didn't care if we had declassified the JFK files like prior to all of this. They had one concern. The only concern was redacting Israel's involvement out of the
I saw that.
JFK files.
I didn't see the document. I saw it reported on.
Yeah, I read a little bit of it. There's a couple documents that allude to it, and one that like actually specifically says that. That's the one I read. Here, come on.
I'm continually fascinated by the influence of Israel. It doesn't make sense to me. It why it doesn't make sense why. Like it's not money. I don't think it's religion. There's plenty of those and all kinds of other causes, but universally, globally, when it comes to keeping Israel happy, everyone toes the line. Everyone, and I don't get it. I don't know where that influence comes from.
Well, I think
That's an important question.
Mossad and money.
yeah, it's definitely filtered through the intelligence agencies. As to the question of why, is this a money thing? I think that's part of it. I think it's also a control thing. Again, if you you control the most powerful country in the world for decades, you can manipulate
like
them
money,
and their
but,
citizens into doing things.
Who's on the other side of the Israel stuff? It's the Saudis and all that, right?
Yeah,
And so they've got trillions of dollars. So if this mysterious Israel money is that influential, it's bigger than that. I mean,
that's fair. That's fair.
like I can't see how they could possibly. What resources do they have to financially dominate? Right? They don't have oil under their ground. Where would they get all their money from? I know the banking, but I mean, there's a lot of other players that have money on that level.
So then we would lean more to Mossad and strong arm blackmail tactics to control Congress. And then even if they can't get you like a Thomas Massey, they'll either try to get you out through voting, or they already have so many people in the higher positions on board that they can snuff out one or two rogue congressmen or rogue senators, I guess, because everybody else is so deeply entrenched that it's not even in their best interest to get out of it. It's already working for
But
them.
we don't think the CIA has that same blackmail information. We don't think MI6 or the Chinese intelligence. You don't think everyone has that information at their disposal now? So again, how does Israel use that as their power play when Mossad exclusively has this knowledge? I mean, do you think that that's the case?
Possible that Mossad is the one who just happened to get the blackmail on him. Like, isn't that what happened to Matt Gaetz when they tried to get rid of Matt Gaetz? They caught him with a honeypot.
That's what it sounds like. It's all allegedly, but I watched probably about an hour or two of Candace Owens going over it, and that's what it sounds like. It looks like some kind of honeypot scheme, if you will. It's hard to say. I think I mean, it should be. I feel like it's kind of clear to me that some of these intelligence agencies are in cahoots with each other, like the CIA and the Mossad probably being the two big ones. That do they have different interests in many areas? Sure, but they seem to collude a lot on other interests. Um, I don't know if MI6 is involved or but yeah, Jim, I think you're right. Like Mossad doesn't have monopoly on intelligence. Like of course other countries have intelligence too. Russia has intelligence.
Yeah, like what? I
Um,
mean, what do they have the monopoly on? That's what I'm saying. Is like, I just can't think of anything that makes sense to me. But the level of influence they have, like, I mean, okay, I get the Zionist thing and all that, but there's very passionate people with a whole lot of money on the other side of that too. Um,
the only thing I could come up with is what Jeff suggested is maybe blackmail because again, why are we allowed to, speak freely and all these things, but whenever it comes to Israel, everybody's butthole closes up? Why?
exactly.
Why
I
would
want to
that
know the
why
answer
would
to
that
that question.
occur? You
And
know?
it seems that with a lot of the actions, many of the actions that the United States takes on the world stage, and a lot of their foreign policy decision making is in the better interest of Israel and not in our better interests.
I agree.
Because if it was really just about doing business and trade and making the world run, it really wouldn't matter to us if Israel even existed or not.
Yeah.
Because somebody, whatever, we said Israel doesn't have like oil money or anything, but even if they did, right, whatever group of people is controlling the territory, whatever their state happens to be, Israeli or even if say hypothetically Palestine got the state, they would then extract their resources, and what would they do with them? They would trade them and use them just like any other normal state would.
Yeah, so we would benefit regardless.
And we don't even need their oil anymore. We're a net exporter.
Hmm.
We
You
can.
know,
We don't need.
the only thing that I ever think about with the Israel thing, where I'm like that justifies this level of you don't fuck with them, is like Raiders of the Lost Ark type of shit. You know, or like they have got like they got some secret magic voodoo going on, and no one wants to piss them off. That fits. Nothing else I hear fits.
Yeah, it's like Israel's like, okay, you don't want to do what we're gonna say. Well, we're gonna open up the chest.
Yeah,
New York City, and anybody who doesn't have their eyes closed is fucked.
Marion, don't look at it. Shut your eyes, Marion. Don't look at it, no matter what happens.
something like that, because that's the way people behave. People, all these massively rich, powerful, influential people, when it comes to Israel, they behave like what you just said. That's where they're like, oh, sorry,
Yeah, why do they all bend the knee?
Well, I guess
exactly.
maybe when you get elected,
to me, it's got to be some next level shit. Because
when you get elected and AIPAC helps you get elected, right? They offer you a all funds paid trip to Israel, and you get to go and touch the wall. Trump did it, Bush did it, Clinton did it, all those guys did it, Obama.
And that's when they show you, when you go there to do that, that's when they take you on the side tour and show you the secret magic bullshit.
Yeah.
Which scares the fuck out of you so that you behave yourself. That's when it happens. That's when they show you.
And then right after you
step behind the curtain, we got a little trick for you,
Oh, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Yeah, and right after you see it, they're like, go outside and put your hand on the wall and be like, holy shit, dude, I can't believe what I just saw.
Exactly. That's when you realize they have the answer to the question that I'm asking. You can't understand international politics without having the answer to that question.
Maybe there's some wild conspiracy theory and like Israel's in league with the ETs or some shit, and you go over to Israel and then you meet one of them.
I mean, the level to which they're listened to and catered to, I just don't see anything that make sense.
And there's nothing else that's anywhere near their level. Again, you can say whatever the hell you want, pretty much.
Right.
As long as you don't speak bad about
money.
Israel.
What about this? What about that? Yeah, well, that stuff's on everybody. Everybody's got access to that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no way to get canceled faster than speaking bad about Israel or the
Yeah,
people that
it's
run the
it's
government
creepy
over there.
weird. You can't go there, you know?
Yeah, why is that? Of all things, that's off limits. I mean, of anything that could potentially be off limits, why that? It's a good
Yeah.
question. Logically, I think your blackmail theory is probably correct. A lot of these politicians and powerful figures just pucker up because the Mossad, the CIA, they have something on them, something like super damning, super incriminating that won't just ruin their career, but may, lead them to a jail cell for the rest of their life, or, you know, it's just, I mean, they were involved in killing one of our presidents. Again, I can actually say that now because it's on the documents. Why? What is why do they care what JFK, does? But then you start looking at the documents, some of that kind of makes sense. Not kind of, it does make sense. But yeah, why is this still happening? Like even to today, It's
There's something we don't know that would make it all make sense.
maybe they have the Ark of the Covenant or something, and
Someone's got it.
very well could be. We're gonna
That's
roll
why
up to your house with it and open it in your living room if you don't comply.
See, I think it's in Iran somewhere, which is why I think that's why we're obsessed with
Jim,
Iran.
you might know this because you go down weird rabbit holes, I think, like I do. Have you ever heard the conspiracy theory behind why we went into Iraq the second time, and it wasn't for weapons of mass destruction?
Oh, what's the theory?
So the theory is, so like just prior to the war, like back in 2001 or 2000 or whatever, like it was around the time with 9/11 happened, or potentially even before then. Scientists claim to have found the tomb of Gilgamesh. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Remind me.
So
He's a
Gilgamesh,
big Sumerian guy. Yeah.
yeah, he's this old figure, whether he's fictional or non-fictional, you can come up with that yourself, but he's basically like a descendant of these Sumerian gods, if you will. The Epic of Gilgamesh specifically refers to him as 2/3 god, 1/3 human. Anyway, the Epic of
Like
Gilgamesh
a
is like,
Horus type story or something, you know.
yeah, it's like, I guess what most people would consider mythology nowadays.
They don't
Anyway,
speak of it. It's not written as if it's mythology. It's written as if it's fact.
yes, it is.
What makes him so special?
I
He
mean,
was.
Like if you said Moses, I know who Moses is. If you said Noah, I'm like, all right, Noah.
well, if he's 2/3 God and 1/3 human, that means that he doesn't exist on. That means that there's extraterrestrials essentially created human beings or modified or had something to do with them.
Oh, it's aliens.
Yes. So, again, the book specifically says 2/3 Anunnaki and 1/3 human. So, if we find his tomb, and you take his DNA, I mean that upends the world essentially. That upends the church. Not to say that like Jesus and all that stuff is not real and he didn't do the things that he did, but it kind of destroys a lot of the church's not mythology, but like teachings over the years. In that there's one God.
Yeah,
and that
there's
God
actually
created man and-
correlations between the Epic of Gilgamesh and one of the stories, whether
There's several.
Moses,
Yeah.
it's Moses or Noah or whatever. There's actually
It's
a
Noah.
correlation. And the Sumerian story is the older story,
Yes.
as far as at least.
So the Epic of Gilgamesh is from like 2100 BC, and some scientists speculate that it's even older than that. So the Bible was written in like, I don't know, somewhere around 700 BC. So it predates the Bible by at least 1,000 years, probably closer to 15 or even 2,000 years.
And the statues of Gilgamesh, he's like a giant figure. He actually has got a lion under his right arm by the neck, and it doesn't even come down to
like a
his knee,
full-grown
you know?
male lion.
Yeah,
I know that picture.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up. So anyway, so as the story goes, he apparently the scientists claim to have found the tomb, and then here we are just 2 months later, or whatever it was, basically invading Iraq, and that's where they claim to have found the tomb. I don't know, but it's interesting. So here's the picture, or there's actually a couple of them. This is one of the murals that or not murals, it's like stone that Jim was talking about. This is Gilgamesh here. This is the lion. You can see he's twice the size of the full-grown lion. This is his friend Enkidu, which is who Pan is based off of from Greek mythology. You know Pan, the guy with the bottom half is a goat, and then he's got horns. That guy.
It's a dog.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Again, I don't know if it's true, but it is interesting. So they claim to have found the tomb of this guy, and that was it. And then we never heard anything else about it. And you can even find some of like the military personnel that were over there, like some of the the Marines or Army or whatever they were, saying that they found it odd that their job was actually just to quarantine, because they didn't actually do anything but stand around for weeks, months at a time just guarding this area. Is it the Tomb of Gilgamesh? Is it something else? I don't fucking know.
It's the gold.
Who knows? Could have been the holy fucking grail that they were guarding. Who knows?
It would not be made out of gold.
That's the cup of a carpenter.
Speaking of hidden cities or hidden things, didn't you say something? I saw it today. You and Robbie were talking about it, and then I saw another thing that they found a city under a pyramid.
Yeah, and under the pyramids of Giza, they found like these large structures. Let me see what comes up. Just type in Giza pyramids, see if I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I don't know. Actually, this is like I think 2 days ago. I think they came up with this. Here's one person talking about it. Advanced scans in 2025 have uncovered an astonishing underground complex beneath the Khafre Pyramid. Researchers found 5 multi-level structures linked by pathways, 8 deep cylindrical wells plunging 648 meters, and 2 massive cubic chambers spanning 2 kilometers under the Giza Plateau.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Can we rule out that the pyramids weren't built by humans yet, or should I still tread the line on that one?
I don't know, man. Maybe they found something in those tubes that helped them build it.
Yeah, it's been pretty viral on X, and I know it hit Legacy Media too because I saw it earlier.
Maybe they built the pyramids to stop something from coming out.
Could be. I think they're more of like energy, like they were like energy sources. I think like a nuclear reactor, if you will.
Yeah. But
I know that we're off into like theory land. That's my.
I mean, I don't know if you've read Chris Dunn's book about it, called the Giza Power Plant. It's very good.
I haven't, but I already agree with that notion.
Yeah, Chris Dunn was a machinist by trade, so he'd go there and looking at the tolerances and stuff. He's like, these tolerances are absurd, and and saying it from someone who, as a professional, has to deal with how much it costs and how difficult it is to get something down to low tolerances. And and it goes into way more to it than that. A lot of it I agree with, some of it I don't. But yeah, that.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of these, there's tons of theories when you start trying to, go back in time and say we're ETs here before us, and
Well, like he does, like when he because he talks about how each part worked and what he thought it did, and like what I thought was really good was the explanation of the function of the Grand Gallery. There's things like that. There's a lot of good detail in there, and some of it I don't agree with, but some, I'd say 75% of it I think is probably on the right track at least.
Yeah, that's something I have zero knowledge of. I've never really gone down any of those rabbit holes, or even just not my interest. Is the pyramids and shit. I mean, they're cool, just not me.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with the Great Pyramid.
Yeah, same. I'd love to go one day.
What about the pyramids and stuff in South America?
I don't know, but I would imagine that maybe they also have a lot of these mega structures underneath it as well. Because when you start like looking into like the different pyramids around the globe, they're not built like exactly the same, but they're very close. And like the time frame of like when they're all built, it all seems to be like around the same time period. Within
And
a
don't,
1,000 or 2,000 years of each other, or whatever.
and don't they all like line up perfectly symmetrically with like the winter solstice and the summer solstice and the
Yeah.
star?
Yeah.
Yeah, most
And the one
monolithic
time a year the
sites
light comes through that
are
kind of
always,
stuff.
they're always lined up astrologically. Yeah.
Like
I
stuff
also-
that like you wouldn't think today. Well, now I mean, okay, let's when I was a little bit younger and I didn't know anything else. Like without the technology we have today, how could they have been so like exact?
Exactly.
Well, it's like I've the house I live in, I've lived in for like over 15 years now. So I've been here long enough, and my backyard faces east, so the sun comes up there, and like I sort of know, like when it comes to at least the solstices, when it's the winter solstice, the sun's over here, comes up over here, but when it's the summer solstice, it comes up over there, the two extremes. And I could anchor something on the ground, like foundations and concrete, and make sure it lines up if I was on that day.
But yeah, some of the stuff is just, it's so mind blowing. Again, from a mathematical perspective. One of the other things is like some of the stones, specifically in South America. There's a site where these stones are, the precision is incredible. Like you could,
In Peru, there's that one. It's
yeah, in
like
Peru. Let me see if I can pull it up.
the stones look like they were soft when they were put together.
It's incredible. Like it's mind blowing. Ancient Aliens actually did an episode. It's actually their very first episode, I think, that they did on the pyramids and like how the stone structures are like perfectly cut. They bring a mason on there. This is like, I don't know, 20 years ago.
A lot of the real ancient mysterious work was done at a time when there was no steel. And the copper they had was, yeah, they could harden it by cold hammering it, but still wouldn't make a dent in rocks like basalt and granite. So they would have had to use, much more labor's techniques, or they had some sort of advanced technology which escapes me. And I've been in the business 40 years.
The name of the site in Peru, if you want it, is Sacsayhuaman, Sacsay. So if you probably just put that in Sacsay, you'll probably get it.
Yeah, got it. They got a bunch of different pictures. It's wild.
And these were abandoned how long ago?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how old is this, Jim? Does it tell you on the site you're on?
Well, those stones?
Yeah. How old?
Well, I'm pretty sure the archaeologists attribute it to the Incas, but like a lot of people are saying it predated the Incas, like they were already there. Because what the Incas did, you can sometimes, some of these walls are a mix of monolithic stone and smaller stones, and so you can see there's like
I mean, look at that.
Those rocks are enormous.
I mean, if you're out there with a hammer and a chisel, there's no way. Look at that. That's amazing. It's like Tetris, but like perfect.
Yeah, there's one famous stone that's got like 14 angles on it.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is just one example. You can find like examples of this all over the world. It's just that South and Central America seem to be popular spots for this to occur.
Yeah.
And then there's the question is, oh, humans built it. Why? Why would humans go through all of this trouble just to build, this mathematically Tetrisy perfect?
Just using stones of that size, it just doesn't make any sense. We don't build today with stones of that size just because of how difficult they are to move. I mean, it's not practical. So if you're using stones of that size, the moving of them is not difficult for you. Otherwise, you would not do it.
Yeah, right.
And then there's the moving of them. Was it the pyramids or Stonehenge I saw recently where the stones apparently came from like 200 miles away?
So yeah, there's some of the granite from the Great Pyramid is from far away. Not all of
Why?
it.
Why would you do that, you know?
Yeah.
Or how
it's a
would you
different
even do
color.
that?
It's a different color. It's
Yeah, I've
different.
seen a bunch of stuff on how they possibly have moved them.
Yeah, I've seen it where they put they cut like logs and then they kind of roll them along over the logs. Sure.
Or
Well,
like
they don't even give Egypt credit for the wheel archaeologically. They say it was done on sleds. You know,
Sleds.
pouring water in the front over sand.
But I mean, even like in the modern day, if we want to build a stone house, right? Like, why would we go 200 miles away to get the stones to build your house? You're just going to find, whatever stone is convenient for
But
you
even
to.
if you did, because it was pretty and it was different and you liked it, even if you did, would you transport it in 50-ton pieces or would you transport it in
Smaller segments.
50-pound pieces?
Yeah.
It's one thing to move a bunch of small blocks 200 miles. It's another thing to move a 60-ton block 200 miles.
Yeah. Those guys must have been in incredible shape from all the pulling
Yeah.
and pushing that
And
they
then
were
get
doing.
them a couple hundred feet in the air too in the Great Pyramid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. I don't know. There's just so many question marks when you start looking at like a lot of the ancient, creations. Something else I always find fascinating, just kind of tie it back into Gilgamesh, being a giant, is some of the doors on a lot of the older buildings, specifically in Europe. Have you seen any of those?
how they're just like they're just really tall. Like
Yeah,
why
they're huge.
They're so big that it wouldn't make it's almost going out of the way to have a door that big.
Yes.
Like,
Like
you have to
they are impractical. Like for humans, like there's no
There's
functional
stairs like
purpose.
that in some places too.
Yeah, look at this dude standing here. What is the functional purpose of having a door this large?
You have to like put a smaller door in the door just to be practical.
The door's probably so damn heavy you can't even open the fucking thing. You probably need a team of people or a pulley system to just open the fucking door. There's other ones too. That's just one.
Or you look at all the Greek and Roman temples and things were built to that scale.
Right.
Yeah. Trying to find ones where they have people standing in the photo, but
Where is the one you're showing us, Paul?
that is
That's the National Archives.
Yeah, National Archives.
Well,
I
it
found a
makes-
bunch. Go ahead.
It makes sense why the U.S. does it because we copied a lot of shit from Rome.
Yeah, those are modern doors. I think.
I mean, look at
I
this
remember
thing.
reading something about them.
And some of them, I can't find the examples I'm looking for at the because I'm on the spot, of course. But some of them even will have the door latch like right here. And again, the human being's like this tall. Like if you're 7 feet tall, you're like this tall. So why is the door latch up here? Like, oh, it looks cool, but what is the functional purpose of even adding the door latch at that point?
Yeah, there have been skeletons found of giants. Very large people. There's older pictures of them, but.
Well,
Yeah.
pretty much every mythology across the world, including the Bible, talks
Yeah,
about giants.
Genesis talks about it. The giants.
Yeah, and giants existed in those days, I think is the actual quote from the Bible.
Yeah, and I mean, and even the story of David and Goliath. I mean, Goliath was a
Goliath,
giant.
Also, Goliath had two brothers that were also giants.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating. So, did giants exist? Do they still exist? And they're just hiding out somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, everything says they. I mean, our histories say they exist. Like I said, we found bones of them. I mean, I don't know why people would say they didn't exist.
Well, Joe Rogan recently said that he believes dragons existed. And again, you'll run into a lot of the same stuff. Did we find dragon bones? I don't know. But you will find pictures of dragons, hieroglyphics and stuff written on walls and caves in 5 out of the 7 continents.
But so around the same time period in, China, South America, Africa, all these different Rome, all these places, images depicted people fighting dragons, right? And every dragon was slightly different, but it was all a giant scaly animal that could fly.
I believe these things to be true as well, because like to me, like you look at the way culture works, right? And you can have a story, you can make a story, but like for these things to get into these histories and these civilizations, these cultures, the way that they did, I just don't think that this starts with like a childhood bedtime story and all of a sudden it's like what you center your civilization around. Like, I think these things come from reality, and then it just gets the origins of it get lost and forgotten, and then people just attribute it to myth.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a hell of a coincidence. What are the chances that these people who had no communication with each other on all 5 of these different continents all drew the same fucking thing? Like,
or close enough, yeah.
Or close enough. Like, why not a fire-breathing bear or a fire-breathing praying mantis? Or why giant lizards that spit fire? It's really, that's a hell of a coincidence.
Yeah. Especially when you see it across cultures like that.
Yeah, again, who seemingly had no contact with one another, whether it be the the indigenous people of South America or the indigenous people of Africa, North America, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty wild. How's your fantasy draft going?
It's all right. It's in round 18, so it's finishing up.
Doing your third string catcher?
No. I only take 2 catchers usually. I do need some fucking.
That was part of the joke.
What's the bread and butter? Is it your pitchers?
No, because they only play once a week. So like a good pitching day will get you like say 20 points, 20 plus points. When your batters are playing 5-6 times a week. So I usually go for my infield. Unless there's like a superstar outfielder, you know what I mean? But so I usually try to get my infield, maybe a starting pitcher or 2. And then there's outfielders, there's so many of them.
I mean, how do they score points on defense like the infield?
No, we play only offense.
Just offense?
Yeah, so like singles a point, a doubles 2, triples 3, home runs 4, point for an RBI, point for a stolen base, shit like that.
And do you lose points for strikeouts, I'm guessing?
Strikeouts are -1.
Does it matter if you're looking or swinging?
No, the K is a K. But mine is I'm in 2 leagues. So I'm in one that you set your roster on Monday, like fantasy football, and then that's your roster the whole week. I'm in another one, the one that I started that my sister now runs because she took over when I was sick. That you can adjust it every single day. So if your guy has a day off, you take him out and you put in somebody else, and we do it every single day.
Yeah, I was in one of those. I was in a pretty detailed one for a couple of years every day, and I dropped it because it's like I just don't pay enough attention, and then the people they get all butt hurt when if you forget to sub stuff and they yell at you and stuff. It's like, look, I got way more important shit going on in my life than this. What are you yelling at me for? This nonsense.
Yeah, this is a game, right? It's just a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried playing fantasy hockey one year. I was telling Billy earlier, but yeah, it was the same thing. It was like too demanding. Like at least with football, you can kind of just set your roster, and as long as nobody gets hurt, you don't really have to change anything. At least until next week.
I started having trouble when they started adding all the Thursday games and the whatever game. Like there'd be game like I wouldn't have my running back active for Thursday because I never used to think about football stuff until Saturday. Let me go make sure all my guys are in.
I've made that mistake a couple times where, oh shit, it's Friday morning. Oh my god, I totally forgot to set my lineup yesterday. Hope I had nobody playing
anymore. But I gotta get my 10-year-old set up in fantasy. He knows everything. From playing all these Maddens and everything. He'll tell you the OVR or the third string running back on the Browns. Like he'll tell you anything. He's good, and in any of the major sports, he knows all this. Maybe basketball the least, really, but
maybe just
baseball,
join a league
football.
like you. I was gonna say maybe just join a league, Jim. Like you front the money and let him run it. Let him run it.
Yeah. If I had him, yeah, just he would like it. You know, he'd be good at it
Then you
too.
could split the money with him at the end, or however you work that out.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The way we play fantasy baseball is similar to football. We just use a point system. But there's like two other ways that fantasy baseball is played. Like one's rotisserie, and then which was named after the restaurant that they made up the game in. A bunch of guys made up fantasy baseball because fantasy baseball is older than fantasy football.
Is it really?
Yeah, it came first, and it was originally the rotisserie system because that's the restaurant they got together and made it at. So like
yeah, I mean, baseball's got hundreds of years of stats.
Yeah,
and it's very because of the way the at bats work. You can break down what happened at every single step of a game. So baseball lends itself well to statistical analysis and hence fantasy football. I mean,
so like the way it works is like
the league I belonged to started before the internet, so it was out of the back of a magazine, and you'd mail in your roster moves, you'd mail them in, and then you'd get like a report back like a week later, and it was done via the U.S. Post, right? And then it went online, and they would upload data over dial-up, and then they slowly moved the league to like Yahoo when they were big and they were doing fantasy and stuff, and so the platform had moved along, but that's how long that the guys who started the league had been doing it.
Yeah, it's wild. I know fantasy football existed prior to like internet-ish stuff too, like where people were keeping track on pen and paper, triple checking everybody's math.
You had to wait until Monday until the sport page came out. Yeah, so anyway, the way rotisserie works is like there'll be 12 categories, like average, hits, home runs. There's 6 for hitting and 6 for pitching. And if there's 10 teams in your league and you had the best batting average from all your players that week, then you would score 10 points and the second guy would get 9, 8, 7, 6 all the way down.
Yeah, that's the way this one was. That's Roto.
You came in last and only got, say, 1 point. Like I played at my first year. Like once you fall behind, it's like impossible to catch up.
Yeah.
You have a couple of bad weeks and you only score, say, 40 points, and the first place guy got 100. You know what I mean? There's just no way to
your season shot
to close the gap. But yeah, that's fantasy baseball for you. But I played hockey. I played NBA. I've done golf, NASCAR.
I would do it now with Formula One. That's my new big thing.
No, I'm not a big fan of Formula One. I don't know why. I just don't.
Well, like I'd never watched any sort of racing, and then there's a Netflix show about it, Drive to Survive.
Oh yeah.
And that kept coming across my thing, and so one night I just started watching season 1, and there were like 3 seasons at that time, and I was like, oh, all right, at least the show was entertaining, so I went through the first couple seasons of that, and then I knew all the drivers, and I knew the race strategy, and I knew the teams, and then all of a sudden I was like, hey, I think there's actually a race on this weekend. So I actually, after watching the 3 seasons, I actually watched a race, and I knew the drivers and all that crap, so that just got me into it. So now it's 4 years later now.
I like NASCAR for a minute. I still like the 2 big races. Like I think Daytona's cool, and I think Talladega's cool because those guys are on the angle and they're going 200 miles an hour, and there's 4 cars this close to each other, then they're all back, like this far
stacked up. Yeah,
it's wild.
I don't know the strategy for that. F1's just so precise and so fast. Like
aren't they like? I feel like there's not that much passing in that.
Depends on the track. It depends on the track.
I mean, what's the difference in speeds? I know F1's faster. I'm illiterate when it comes to car racing. So, how much faster? What does the NASCAR go? 150 miles an hour, 200?
It's 200 on the super speedways, which is Daytona and Talladega. They average like 198, and then some of the smaller ones they go down. But
And that's on a cambered track, meaning tilted, right?
It's
and they go one direction, it's tilted so they can get those speeds, right?
Yeah.
If
So
F1, they'll be going. They'll go over 200 miles an hour on the straights, but you've got these turns. You got hairpin turns going either direction, and that's where what F1 really has more than in all the rest is the downforce of those cars. They can corner those corners at speeds that are really high for what they're doing. So they're pulling G's, on these turns that you're not getting in a lot of the other formats.
Yeah. Plus they're braking, they're turning, they're accelerating. It's a whole like NASCAR's. They're not built to go from 0 to 60
They're
quickly.
essentially just driving around in a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not really, again, not familiar with F1, but F1 race was just in Vegas a couple months ago. I lived in St. Pete for years, and they have an F1 race every year in March. I think it's in March in St. Pete, and they literally, they shut the streets down in the city and they race through the city. So I guess so it's not necessarily like in a circle, Jim. Like they have like different design tracks, or is there like a
all the tracks are different.
Gotcha.
Shape,
So they come in all different shapes, essentially, and
Yeah.
you would have to memorize, run the track before you're actually about to race, so you know when to turn.
Oh yeah, they do.
I'm sure otherwise there'd be accidents left and right.
Yep, I'm flying through the air. This is not good.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't be able to they can't be surprised that they're about to turn left. They're going 200 miles an hour. They better know in advance.
Right. Oh shit, I'm supposed to turn. Oh, it's too late.
Yeah, but even in NASCAR, they have like practice rounds, so you get a feel.
Oh, and the sim racing is so high end now. You can just go in Gran Turismo and you can play. You can do it, but their sims are even better. The rigs that they have, it's identical to the car, really. Everything but the G-force. So they practice it over and over and over and over and over again.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, all of those drivers are highly skilled. The reaction timing, the dexterity that you have to be able to, drive at those speeds and operate the vehicle safely, let alone win the race. Yeah, you guys got anything else?
No, man, I thought we were gonna get into the gold a little bit more, but I guess there's not really that much to get into.
Yeah, I just don't know enough about it to speak to it. That's the problem. I should look into it a little more.
Did you get a chance to look at that?
I think it's important because all that gold moving around, that's where the power is. So, I mean, it's definitely something to pay attention to and understand why it's moving, where it's moving, and who these players are. I mean, when gold's moving, it's wise to pay attention. But I just didn't have enough background to speak to it.
The guy I've been listening to a bunch of the stuff on gold lately, but there's also the rumor that we usually want to say that the U.S. probably doesn't have their gold, or it's on loan, or it's been leased out 15 times. But now they're saying that we actually might have more gold than we say we do. Like, I guess on the books we have 8,000 tons, but apparently we might actually have a little bit more, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know where we would have gotten it from besides stealing it, because usually we ended up sending it out, which is why we didn't, which is why Nixon defaulted in the first place in the 70s, because we didn't have the gold.
Well, any of these unaccounted for billions and trillions of dollars of that federal budget, where they don't know where it goes, whether it's the military or the CIA or HUD or any other department that doesn't know where all that money is going, it could have gone to buy gold. I mean, it could have gone anywhere. Who the hell knows?
Right.
What do you guys think? You guys, is the gold in Fort Knox? Yes or no? What do you guys think?
Well, the gold technically is in 3 places, right? Like our reserve is Fort Knox.
Let me rephrase that. Do we have gold bars in any of those 3 places? Do you think it's there, or?
Oh, well, I think there's still some in West Point because they mint there.
Oh.
And there's been a bunch up there for a while. That was but Fort Knox was like the famous place. where it was.
And I'm sorry, what were the other two places? You said West Point
It's
and
West Point, Fort Knox, and I want to say the Denver Mint, but I'm not 100% on that one. But I know Fort Knox and I know West Point for sure.
what do you think, Jim? Is it there?
I don't think the Fort Knox gold is there. No, I mean, think that's why Nixon closed the gold window, because the foreign banks were cashing in their dollars at the gold window in increasing amounts in the 70s, late 60s, and the early 70s because of inflation. So that means when they want gold, you have to give them actual gold, and they had a lot of those dollars in reserves in Europe at the time.
Yeah, and Germany asked for some of their gold back, and it took us like 7 years to give it to them.
Where's the gold? Where's the gold, my man?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it probably wasn't there, and just like I don't, I don't think it's I don't think it's there. But
like when people think Fort Knox, they think like Goldfinger, or I think of Die Hard 3. And even though I know it's not Fort Knox, it's the New York Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's gold there. I just don't think it belongs to the U.S. Treasury. I think it belongs to the Fed, which is
exactly
like back in the day.
Something totally different.
If the U.S. bought something from China, like say fucking oil or lumber or something, somebody would go downstairs with a wheelbarrow and move the gold from fucking cage to cage and conduct a transaction.
Yeah, trade imbalances were paid in gold.
Yeah, and now
it was the only common currency.
One of the problems they have with gold is it's almost like fractional reserve lending. They like lend the same gold to people who then lend the gold themselves without ever physically having the gold.
There are gold derivative products now.
Yeah.
So
when hypothetically when push comes to shove and the system breaks or whatever happens,
who has it?
Has the gold. Possession's 9/10 of the law, right? So
he who has the gold makes the law.
Yeah.
There's some famous thing like that.
We'll quote it. We'll pop it up right now. That's a good spot to end it.
Yeah, I before we move on, I just want, or before we cash out, pun intended. So I know Trump and Elon have been talking about going down there and live streaming, which I think would be great and potentially terrible. So I think it would be great to, if you guys want to be transparent, like you claim that you want to be, it would be great to go down there with a video camera, open the door so we can all see it at the same time. But if the gold isn't there, I would imagine that might cause a massive panic. So maybe that's not a good idea.
I think if the gold isn't there, they would never allow a live stream. They would tell them beforehand, and like the panic it would cause if we opened up the vault and all of a sudden it's like, like in Dumb and Dumber, there's a case of IOUs in there.
Yeah.
What is this? What is this? Where's all the money?
That's as good as money, sir. Those are IOUs.
But
that's why with the timings of these and with all the gold that's moving around apparently currently.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's related or not, but if there was suddenly an interest to actually have it there, gold would start moving around.
It would be to their benefit to move all the gold real quick for a photo op, and then do the live stream, open up the doors, like, oh look, the gold's here. Look, dink, dink, dink. These are real bars. I'll bite on one or something.
Yeah, and then send them back to wherever they came from the following day. Yeah, that thought had occurred to me too. The just live stream, unless you're going to leave cameras on it 24/7, doesn't really prove anything. It just proves that it was there yesterday. Is it still there today? I don't fucking know.
And when they went to show the congressman years ago, when they actually brought him to Fort Knox, right? Didn't they bring him to like the set of where they filmed Goldfinger? And the congressmen were like, "Oh yeah, here we go. This is fucking great." And they had the movie set.
I don't know. I know Rand Paul's been asking to go down there for quite a while and keeps getting denied.
He's a hero. I love that guy. All right, well, I gotta go to the bathroom, so let's end it.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Jim, thanks for coming on. And next time, I'll give you some real prep, and we can get.
Yeah, I need to read up on some stuff.
My one of our previous guests. I'm thinking about having you guys on at the same time. Our friend Jan, he's a lawyer, but we were doing a lot of libertarian talk, and he kept mentioning Hans Hermann Hoppe's book that you gave me, the Democracy, the God That Failed. And I really think that he wanted to talk about it. And I know that's kind of your thing, so I thought that might be interesting. But I'll run that by you another time.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'll be game.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on again, Jim.
Yeah, man, we appreciate it, buddy.
Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
All right, you guys have a good night.
You too. Take care.
You have chosen wisely.